Hey everybody, happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining me here on BrainScratch. This one is for May 12th, 2017. And does this sound familiar to you? Let me lay out a situation. A young woman goes traveling to another country, is seen acting strange around her hotel, and winds up dead, never makes it home. Unfortunately, no, this is not a rerun, and I'm not talking about Elisa. This is another case that happened just at the end of April of this year. This is the case of Magdalena Zook. It's either Zook or Zuck. This is a picture of Magdalena. I'm just going to call her Magda for the rest of this video. And she lived in Poland, but traveled to Egypt on a vacation, and unfortunately would never come home. Now, this case was recommended from many of you brain scratchers out there. You wanted me to check into this one, but I have to give a very special thank you to Dionysos. I hope I'm saying that right. Dionysos. They actually did all the research, the initial research for me, did a lot of translating because most of the media on this case is in Polish. If you look at Google News right now, you'll find probably somewhere between 10 and 15 articles that are in English, but even those seem to be some type of auto-translate job. I only found maybe 1 or 2 articles that I could tell were actually written in English. If you look on YouTube, you will see tons of videos about this case, and none of them are in English. Luckily, a few of them are closed captioned, and you can always use the auto translate feature on the closed captioning, but of course that gives you some mixed results. So without the help of Dionysos, I hope I'm saying that right, this would have been very, very tricky to look into, and I would have really been doubting the information. But thankfully, I have a good compiled list of the info. There's still a couple discrepancies I'm not 100% on, but we're going to go through it. And if nothing else, this video can act as a starting point for conversation about this case, because I do think that there's going to be more things happening as this case rolls forward. But let's jump in and take a look. We're going to do this one a little bit differently because essentially I had to compile all this information into a script. So we're going to be going over that, and then I have a bunch of video that we're going to look at and other articles that we will reference as we go through. But Magdalena Zook died in Egypt when she was on vacation by falling out or jumping out of a hospital window. It looked like she had a mental breakdown or was possibly being drugged. Magda bought tickets to vacation at an Egyptian resort in Marsa Alam, a town in southeastern Egypt located on the western shore of the Red Sea, for both herself and her boyfriend Markus. It was meant as a present for his birthday, but it turned out that his passport was expired. Their trip was scheduled for Tuesday, April 25th, 2017. They checked to see if an exception could be made for his travel, but it couldn't. 4 hours before the flight time, Markus posted on Facebook trying to sell his ticket. Quote, "I will sell trip to Egypt. Flight is today from Katowice at 8:20 p.m. 4-star hotel. Trip worth approximately $1,000 US. I will sell for half price for 2 people," he wrote. No one bought the trip. He speaks to Magda, and she decides to take the trip on her own. All of her friends already had plans and were busy, and she wanted to go because she hadn't had a vacation for a while, and the trip was already paid for. She landed in Hurghada just after midnight on Wednesday morning. From Hurghada, she drove to the resort in Marsa Alam, staying at the Three Corners Equinox Beach Resort. Contact with her was very difficult right from the start. Family were getting weird text messages with questions like, "Where are you? Come to me." Messages were being sent from the phone of an employee of the travel agency, Mahmoud K. There were pictures of Magda seemingly sick in bed, covering her face, and seemingly passed out on the floor. It seemed that her phone was turned off. Finally, she called her family, and while talking with her sister, she was very incoherent and was saying that she thinks someone may have put something in her drink. The family states that she had no mental issues and no one else in the family does either. Her family contacted the travel agency and embassy. Her boyfriend Markus contacted their friend Marche so he could fly to Egypt to get her. Wednesday evening, her state was getting worse. On Thursday, employees from the travel agency and hotel staff were trying to calm and help her. Her boyfriend heard about her worsening state and bought the first ticket he could get to get her home, a flight scheduled for Saturday. On Friday morning, tourists found her unconscious in the hotel. Staff recorded her and sent the video to her family to show how bad she was. And we actually have a clip of that video here. Let's take a look at it.
Do Egiptu wyjechała sama. Niedługo po przyjeździe zaczęła się dziwnie zachowywać.
You can see she does not seem to be doing very well. And it's kind of difficult because in a lot of these videos that we're going to review, it seems like there's people around her, but that they're not really able to help her. Here's that still image that I was mentioning about her being in bed. And it's tough because if she really is having some type of psychotic break or if she's lashing out at the people around her, I imagine it would be very hard for them to get close enough to actually help her. But in a lot of this footage, it just seems really kind of off to me, and I'll be sure to point it out to you as we go through it. There is quite a bit of footage that we're going to be able to review in this case. I don't know if that's really a good or a bad thing at this point with the investigation that's going on, but let's continue. From the hotel room, they took her to a local hospital, but no one helped her because they said they do not treat mental problems. A doctor stated that she wouldn't even get out of the car, but there is footage of her walking into the hospital relatively calm when compared to other footage of her, and we do have a clip of that footage as well. Here we can see her walking into the hospital, once again being escorted by some other people. She looks relatively normal and calm as she walks in. Another article says that she refused to be treated there. Which of these three reasons is actually true? So we have a doctor stating in a later news article that she wouldn't even get out of the car. We have footage that shows she actually did get out of the car. We have another excuse of they wouldn't treat her because they don't take care of mental disorders. And then we have, well, no, she was actually denying treatment. But in the footage, it looks like she is walking in there no problem. It doesn't seem like she's trying to run away. It doesn't seem like she's struggling with anyone. I'd be very surprised to see that someone coerced her or coaxed her into going into that hospital, tricking her somehow, and then she later denies that she wants help. It just doesn't seem to be matching up the intent of the person that I see in that footage. So this is just where the mystery starts, folks. There are so many unanswerable questions in this, it's almost ridiculous. She eventually went back to the hotel. On Saturday, an employee from the travel agency checked her out from the hotel and they went to the airport. She was denied the flight due to being in such bad condition. Some reports say she was screaming and trying to take her clothes off. Other reports say she just appeared drunk, which was enough to deny her the flight. They went back to the hotel. However, the hotel wouldn't let her check back in due to the problems that she was making. So they tried to go to other hotels, but they couldn't find a place for her. From the parking lot of one of these hotels, the employee from the travel agency video called her boyfriend. Now, the video call for this is 13 minutes long. Obviously, I don't want to include all of that with you, but we have created a script together here. The boyfriend repeats himself a lot. He's essentially just trying to get her to talk. And in the footage, she just looks like she is in shock and fear for most of it. So I've tried to trim this down to kind of the most important points, and we will look at a few clips from the video. So let's check this out. Markus: honey, tell me what happened, honey. Don't be scared to tell me. Please, Angel, don't be scared. Tell me what's going on. Marche will come for you, okay? You understand? Honey, are you listening to me? Do you remember Marche Salzak, the one with the beard? He will drive for you. He will be there in the morning. Honey, say if something happened to you. Angel, tell me. Don't be scared. Tell me what happened so I can know what I should do. Magda at 2:34, and I'm noting some of the times here, so if you want to jump into the video, you can check out those specific times for yourself. They have different tricks. Take me from here, please. Markus, what tricks? What are they doing to you? Don't be scared. Tell me. So just so you can get a better sense of what's going on, let's watch just that little section of the video. Now what's hard is this is a video call that's happening here that's being recorded by another cell phone. The quality isn't great. It's not in English. I do have the closed captions turned on and they're doing translation for English, so you'll be able to follow along on the bottom a little bit.
Myszko? Ale co robią? Co robią? Powiedz mi. Zabierzemy cię. Maciek już po ciebie leci, ale co oni robią?
So, very scared. Sounds like she's crying as she's speaking to him. And despite the fact that he's constantly trying to get information out of her, she just won't speak. And I have to say, the first time I saw this video, it felt like to me that she was afraid to speak, potentially because of people that were around her. And then the second thing I noticed was in several instances, you'll see that both hands are free. She is not holding this phone. It's being held by someone else that's recording her. We'll get to a bit more about that later, but let's continue. Magda, take me from here, please. Markus, I will, I promise. Tell me what happened. Don't be scared. Tell me. Magda, I can't tell you. I can't. Markus, you must tell me so I can call the embassy so someone could take care of you. Tell me, please. Magda, this will change nothing. Nothing. It's too far. This will change nothing. This will change nothing. This will change nothing. Magda at 7:16, I'm sorry. Markus, what happened? Tell me, honey. Magda, take me from here. Magda at 8:46, I will not come back from here. Markus, yes, you will be back with us. What happened? Tell me. Magda, I can't talk. I'm sorry. Markus at 11:05, honey, do you trust me? Magda, yes. Markus, so tell me. I want to protect you. Tell me right now, fast. Magda simply says M, as in the letter M. And we do have a clip on that as well.
Bo ja chcę cię chronić. Powiedz mi, proszę cię, tylko musisz mi to powiedzieć szybko, teraz. Co się stało? Mów. Powiedz śmiało, szybko, będziemy mieli to z głowy.
M.
Co M?
All right, so a couple things in that clip that are getting to me. First of all, through most of this footage, she is rocking back and forth. There are several times where she is covering her head with both hands. And it seems like to me, when she says M, she actually pulls away from the camera. And I don't know if she's worried about the person that's holding the camera or someone else that's there. I do think it's also interesting that all of a sudden there's some other dialogue that starts kicking around once she says that in the background. That is, quite honestly, the best clue that we have in this whole thing so far. And I don't know. There are so many people that have a name that starts with M here. It's hard to tell who she's trying to call attention to. Markus, what M? What M? That employee? Yes? Honey, tell me. Yes. What happened? Honey, tell me, please. Magda, I will call you from my phone. Markus, no, honey. Tell me now because I'm recording this on my second phone. I need to have this as evidence, so please tell me. Look at me and tell me. Don't be scared, please. Will you tell me now? Look at me and say. And unfortunately, we get close to the end of the phone call here.
Nie bój się. Popatrz się na mnie i mi powiedz.
Markus.
Myszko.
Markus. Cześć. Markus. Halo.
No, słucham.
Witam.
Halo?
Wydaj mnie to strata czasu. Ja będę dzwonił teraz znowu do ambasady tutaj w Egipcie, dobrze?
No dobrze, a możesz poprosić Magdę, żeby włączyła telefon?
So as I was asking before, who is this M that she's referring to as she pulls back from the phone? Is this the travel company employee that video called Markus, Mahmoud K? Or is she potentially trying to leave some trace that Markus himself could be involved here, and that's why she's pulling away from the phone as she's saying it? Maybe even his friend Mache. On Saturday afternoon, Magda is so scared that the travel employee and other member of the hotel staff are taking her back to that same local hospital that she went to the day before. There, she is refusing to be examined, and we do get some very troubling video. So she's sitting on the floor here. It's kind of hard to see. This is a nurse. You can tell this guy's in scrubs and this guy's in scrubs. I don't know if these two are employees. I've seen some reports saying... Now here we see a very fierce struggle going on. I've seen some news reports saying that these are all employees. I don't think that's true. I think the guys that are in regular clothes might be the guys that brought her here. But I wanted to call a few things out that I see happening in this video, and I haven't seen anyone else really talk about noticing these things. First of all, let's roll it back a little bit more. Okay, so you see she was on one side and then she kind of scoots over to the other side. These guys are really kind of handling her. Like I said, it could be totally normal with what she's going through, but in this guy in particular, if you do have someone that is acting out and potentially being violent in some way, I'm very surprised at how close he's putting his body to her over and over again. And we already know in this footage that she winds up trying to attack the guy across the way. But outside of that, I want you to check this guy's body language and his positioning with what's going on here. He leans against the door, right next to her. At one point, he looks back. Now, why he looks back down the hall is, was there a noise back there? Is someone walking by? Is he nervous about someone walking by? Is he potentially noticing where the camera placement is? There's several different ideas that could be occurring there. But what's stranger is this next thing. What pose is this? What is he doing? That, to me, looks like he's trying to obstruct the view of what's going on with her. And what happens with her at this point? We have people that are kind of constantly putting their hands around her. Once again, he's reaching down, and this is right before she erupts. And if you look at this, she is screaming that whole time while she's being tackled by these guys. That, once again, I'm not even sure if these are professionals. It looks like the people that are in scrubs are standing away from all this that's going on. Something else that I see going on in this footage here, watch what happens with these blinds. When she goes to originally attack this guy, it's like she gets caught up in the blinds and she actually pulls them down. Once again, there's another section where it looks like the nurse was poking her hand at her. I don't know what she could have been doing there. So here, the blinds kind of get pulled down in this struggle that's going on here. Now, watch the nurse. She goes, and she doesn't open the blinds, she closes them. She pulls them all the way down. Is she trying to obstruct what's going on there so that no one outside could see how this lady is being handled? Or is it something else? From what I'm seeing here, she is specifically attacking that man across the way, and she's attacking him fiercely. Like, there is a very intent anger that she has towards him specifically, because he's not the guy that's closest to her. She could have turned to that other guy who's, you know, standing like literally right next to her and attacked him much easier. She went for that guy. In my opinion, it looked very specific. Very troubling video clip. Of course, I'm going to have links to all this below so you can watch the whole thing for yourself. They eventually get her into a room, tying her to the bed using towels. A nurse is in the room with her. Magda tells the nurse that she has to use the bathroom. As soon as the nurse unties her, she attacks the nurse and jumps out a second-story window onto concrete stairs below. And we do have a little news clip that is showing the room. Let me pull back on this just a little bit here. And he is showing the window and where she fell. which there's a slab of concrete right here, and there's stairs. You can't see it because of this title card that's over it, but there's stairs right below this, and apparently that's where she landed. After the fall, she is taken to the other bigger hospital that is 300 kilometers away, and early Sunday morning, sadly, she dies. Marche arrives that morning to the terrible news that she is no longer alive. Prosecutor's office in Poland for now is treating this case as a murder, while in Egypt it's considered a suicide case. People on the internet are speculating a lot, some assuming that her boyfriend sold her as a sex slave, but he didn't know about this trip, according to him. It was a gift he learned about the day it was scheduled to depart. Some reports are stating that Magda even borrowed money from her parents to buy the trip. Her boyfriend also tried to sell both tickets. Some people are reporting that someone did indeed try to buy them and was denied, but I can't find a solid source to confirm that. Many people believe now that the employee from the travel agency, Mahmoud K, did this because of her clue with the letter M, and he has also since deleted his Facebook account. One channel on TV, TVP Info, they reached out to a former tour guide from Hurghada. He said that he knew Mahmoud K and he said some bad stuff about him. There are suggestions that adding drugs to drinks happens very often out there. Family and father of the victim are sure that Mahmoud is responsible for her death. He was with her most of the time, and she was using only his phone. So I did find some news sources that might be able to give us just a little more detail and fill in some more info on this case. Let's take a look at those. The first one that's interesting is apparently this is not the official autopsy, but they did do a medical document from the hospital where she had the fall, and someone was able to review that document. Now, this article is kind of, it doesn't tell us who that person is, it doesn't tell us what that person's experience is, but it is suggesting that this is an expert that would be able to make some sense out of that document, and this is what that expert says. From a medical document that Magda had serious injuries, but only on the left side of the body. Shattered in 3 places, her left leg, her ribs punctured, her left lung, and the head injuries were all on the left side. Their source says, no doubt, this is not damage that could be caused by a deliberate jump out of the window. Magda had to be unconscious at the moment of impact with the ground. We also determined that approximately 5 hours before the event, Magda was exhausted and lost consciousness. Before she fell asleep, she was given glucose. I've seen other interviews from the medical staff, and they're saying that they did indeed try to sedate her. Seeing what kind of hassle she was being, I'd be very surprised if they didn't sedate her to try to help her sleep through the night. So that really raises a big question about was she able to counteract that drug? Was there something else in her body that allowed her to wake up out of that to do this horribly thought escape attempt, which just doesn't quite seem that logical. And you know, if you are jumping, really trying to escape, aren't you going to land on your feet? Aren't you going to at least try to land on your feet? The next article is, this is the nurse that was in the room with her, and we learned that there was a bit of a scuffle that happened here. I am so sorry that I was not able to stop Magdalena. After she got out of the loop, Magda was tied to the bed with towels. She grabbed the drip tray, and so armed, she went to the window. I don't know if they mean the pole that the drip actually hangs off of, and if she was trying to use that as a weapon and that threatened the nurse in some way. That's kind of the assumption I'm making. Then I tried to catch her, but she hit me and kicked me. She jumped, the broken nurse tells us. Fateh Ahmed ran for the head of the hospital, Dr. Ahmed Shaki. I heard a bang, ran to Magdalena's room. There was only a nurse in it. My wife, who was with me at the time, was the first one down at Magda. To this day, she cannot recover from what has happened. And here is also an article that is an interview with the doctor. I just wanted to point out, here's that section where his information doesn't really line up with the video footage I've seen. She did not want to get out of the vehicle. She went back to the hotel, reports Dr. Ahmed Shaki. We've seen the video. We know that she certainly was out of the vehicle and she was walking around in the hospital. Could he be misinformed? Maybe he wasn't privy to any of that happening. Maybe some staff member mistold it to him. I think that's possible. He's also talking about the aftermath of the fall. They immediately went to the ICU, and after approximately 2 hours, we decided that she should be transferred to a better equipped hospital in Hurghada, and there the woman died. Here is an article where they got some quotes from the college that she went to. They have the associate dean for the private higher school of medicine in Wrocław. They're saying that Magda graduated in 2015. She had a very good result. I assume they're saying good grades there. She was chatty, friendly, open, and welcome to people. According to the forensic pathologist, her behavior could be attributed to administration of a psychoactive. It could be the result of a traumatic event or mental disorders. Family women stress that Magda Zook had no problems with the psyche. Now, some people have spoken about the fact that she was crying when her boyfriend took her to the airport. He comments on that a little bit. He's been interviewed as well. He did a pretty in-depth interview, and he said that, yeah, she was a little bit upset about the fact that he couldn't go, but it wasn't anything out of the norm. So what's going on with the autopsy? It looks like the autopsy has actually been started on Wednesday, the 10th of May. And it is being attended by Polish investigators upon the request of Warsaw, amid some Polish media reports that Zook was a victim of rape and murder. Egyptian sources deny this claim, saying that Magda committed suicide in the hospital due to her unstable mental state. Quote, "We emphasize that it's the responsibility of the Egyptian authorities to clarify the circumstances of the death. For its part, the Polish side seeks full access to information about the inquiry, including medical records, which will help ascertain what caused the death of the Polish citizen." Now, as of when I'm shooting this, there are no final results on the autopsy that have been released, and it really boils down to a few very important questions. Number one, are there drugs in her system? Number two, was she sexually assaulted? So those are the things that I'm most curious to see, and I think will be considerable factors in spinning this investigation one way or the other. This is the article that her boyfriend Markus was interviewed and answered questions for. I'll have a link to that down below. I've already kind of told you most of the important points that I found in it, but if you want to read it for yourself, you'll certainly be able to do that. And I just wanted to show there is a pretty interesting disparity happening between the press that is reporting it. Sputnik News, I don't know if that is Russian or not, but you can see here that they're reporting it as a 27-year-old Polish tourist who fell to her death from a hospital window in an Egyptian resort may have been drugged and gang raped. And then just to show you kind of the juxtaposition, if we look at the Egypt Independent, we see an article saying the Polish tourist deliberately committed suicide, not raped, according to tourism police. So it's very clear to me that there are two distinct sides that each country wants to be looking at in terms of this case. And what I find interesting in this article at the Egypt Independent is they have even a different version of the story. And they're quoting the same doctor, which I can't believe. But they're saying the footage shows her trying to jump out from a window in the hospital hallway while the nurses and doctors are doing their best to stop her. We've already watched that together. I do not believe she's trying to jump out of that window. She looks like she is attacking the man that's in front of the window. And if she was trying to jump out of the window, why is she going to essentially close the blinds? It doesn't make sense. So seems like some level of misreporting going on here, but this next one is even more of a doozy. Magdalena managed to escape the restraints. She jumped toward the window, attacking the nurses who tried to stop her. Quote, "Then she jumped and died," the doctor finished. That's certainly not what is lining up with the other information I'm seeing here. She jumped out. She didn't die. She was taken to the ICU, worked on for 2 hours before they decided they couldn't help her, and they wound up trying to transport her. Why they didn't transport her before those 2 hours is probably a good question in itself, if they were so horribly understaffed and not able to handle something like that. This article is alluding to there being more than one nurse in the room. It seems like from the interview with the nurse that was there that she was the only one. This article is making it sound like there was proper restraints that were used. She was tied to the bed with towels. So it's very interesting to me to see press covering this in such different ways depending on where the press is originating from. In terms of theories, obviously, one of the ones that's coming up is she the victim of trafficking? Outside of that, I also bumped into an interesting theory about something called Paris syndrome, which I had never heard of before. And quite honestly, when I first read this Wikipedia article, I kind of thought it was a joke. Let's see here. It's a transient mental disorder exhibited by some individuals when visiting or vacationing to Paris as a result of extreme shock resulting from their finding out Paris is not what they had expected it to be. It is categorized by a number of psychiatric symptoms such as acute delusional states, hallucinations, feelings of persecution, derealization, depersonalization, anxiety, psychosomatic manifestations such as dizziness. It goes on and on and on. Could it be something like that there was some trigger that happened in her taking this trip? I don't know. I don't know if I could quite buy into that as a potential theory here. The main difference, there's a lot of similarities between this and the case of Elisa Lam, no doubt. The main difference I'm seeing here is the excuse that a lot of people want to label of, well, she just went crazy and killed herself. In Elisa's case, you had a history that was very easy to prove that Elisa was struggling, dealing with depression, taking medication for it. In this case, we don't have any of those factors. So what is the trigger for this seemingly psychosis to have kicked off? In this case in particular, I don't know. The few pieces that we do have that are extremely intriguing to me are a family member saying they had a conversation with her and she was saying she seemed like she had been drugged. We have pictures and footage of her where it looks like she is literally, I guess you could assume she was hungover, but in some way it seems like she is toxic to the point where she can't even move. We have other footage where she is lashing out and she's attacking someone in particular. And then we have other footage where she can't talk to her boyfriend openly. She seems intimidated and scared through the whole conversation. I don't know, folks. I don't think this is something that was generated necessarily from a disorder on her part. This really seems to me like there's something else going on here. But until we get the results from that autopsy, I don't know. We're just going to have to keep our eyes on this case, and I will be sure to keep you updated with any developments as they come out. Here's where I turn it over to you, Brain Scratchers. Let's talk about this in the comments below. And if any of you out there also speak Polish and have some other information that I haven't covered, please feel free to share that with the rest of us. It's always tough when I'm looking into cases where there's not as much media that is written in English, because I kind of start second doubting myself. But I do believe that after reviewing all of the information that I have for this case, that I've given you a very fair summary of it. The facts are as close to as solid as I could get them using the information that was submitted to me by the amazing brain scratcher Dionysus. Hope I'm saying that right. But outside of all that, just another tragic case, and I really hope that in contrast to what we've seen with Elisa's case, that we actually get some firm, definitive answers in this one. That's truly what I'm hoping for here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have an excellent weekend, and I'll catch you right back here next week on the Lord and Arts channel.